President Bola Ahmed Tinubu of Nigeria has issued a revised policy actions over the 2025 presidential pardons he had earlier granted to 175 persons, some of whom were convicted murderers, deadly kidnappers, which included Maryam Sanda, who had spent barely 6 years and 8 months at the Suleja Medium Security Custodial Center after she was convicted and sentenced to death by hanging over the killing of her husband, Bilyaminu Bello in Abuja, who she stabbed 3 times repeatedly. This, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu in his earlier presidential pardon granted to the 37-years-old convicted and condemned murderer, Maryam Sanda, had asked her to go home free because of her children, but, following public outcry and condemnation, in the revised version of the presidential pardon signed into law on October 21, 2025 and made available to the public by the Presidency on Wednesday, October 29, 2025, President Tinubu commuted the death sentence to 12 years imprisonment, although the Presidency never mentioned the total numbers of people granted the presidential pardons, but the list of beneficiaries made available by the Presidential Spokesperson, Bayo Onanuga, indicated that only 86 persons were granted the presidential pardons, and Maryam Sanda, apparently spelt as Maryam Sunda, was last on the list, and the names of earlier beneficiaries like Kelvin Prosper Oniarah were not seen in the revised edition of the list. Maybe the names were omitted due to excessive public outcry that Prosper Kelvin Oniarah was a convicted, notorious, high-profile gang leader of a deadly kidnapping group that were widely stated to be responsible for the kidnapping and subsequent killing of a former Anambra State Deputy Governor, Chudi Nwike, kidnapping of a prominent legal practitioner, Mike Ozhekome, on August 24, 2013 along Benin-Auchi Road, and during the kidnapping operation, the gunman ambushed and killed 4 police officers including the Divisional Police Officer, DPO of Ehor Division, who led the police team in an attempt to rescue Mike Ozhekome. Outside that, the 44-years-old Oniarah was also stated to be responsible for the kidnapping of a judge in the Edo State Judiciary, a top female official of the Federal Inland Revenue Service, FIRS, among other several members of the National Youth Service Corps, NYSC, and security agents. And Oniarah was also stated to carry out several armed robberies and kidnap operations in Delta, Edo, Rivers and Anambra States, maintaining operational base and detention camps in Warri and Kokori Community in Delta State, Ugbokolo Community in Benue State, Benin City in Edo State, and Abia in Abia State. That on the 18th of September 2013, Oniarah issued a 60-day ultimatum to the federal government of Nigeria to release some of his boys who were arrested by the Department of State Services, DSS, or he would wreak havoc on innocent Nigerian citizens. And, on the 25th of September 2013, a combined security team of the Nigerian Army and DSS operatives arrested Kelvin Prosper Oniarah, a convicted notorious terrorist, kidnap kingpin and armed robber, who had been on the wanted list of the security agencies.